The cold metal cuffs bit into her wrists. The scent of sterile air and burnt ozone filled her lungs. The last human girl knelt on the floor of the alien warship. Her heartbeat was steady. Her world was dark. The aliens had taken her eyes. They thought they had won. She heard them whispering in their hollow voices. Their elongated limbs clicked against the steel floor as they moved. They called her an experiment, a relic, a reminder of a species too weak to survive. She tilted her head, slightly. She could hear the hum of energy coursing through the ship. She could feel the vibrations of the engines. She knew they were still in orbit above the ruined Earth. But what the aliens did not know, what they had failed to sense with all their technology and superior intelligence, was that something ancient had been watching, something with fire in its heart. Something that had waited in the deep places of the world. A dragon, the watching flame. It had seen everything. The firestorm that consumed the cities, the ships that had come from the void, the endless hunt for the last scraps of human life. It had watched from its hidden cavern, waiting, listening, choosing its moment. And when the girl screamed as they stole her sight, the dragon heard. It followed the ship into the sky, a silent shadow among the clouds unseen by their machines. Now it clung to the hull of the massive alien warship. Its claws dug into the metal as it listened. It could smell the girl inside. It could hear her heartbeat, and it could hear the voices of those who had taken everything from her. The dragon's eyes burned with fury. It was time. Wrath unleashed. A tremor ran through the ship. The alien guards paused. A strange vibration echoed through the walls. It was deep, powerful, primal. Then came the sound of rending metal. The ship lurched violently. Warning sirens wailed. The lights flickered. The aliens chattered in panic, their strange, elongated bodies moving frantically. They did not yet understand. They thought it was a system failure, a malfunction. They were wrong. The walls burst inward in a cascade of fire and torn steel. A deafening roar filled the corridors, shaking the very bones of the ship. The dragon had arrived. It moved like a storm of flame and fury. Its golden eyes burned like twin suns in the darkness. Its scales shimmered, reflecting the fire that poured from its throat. The alien screamed as it struck. Claws slashed through them like paper. Tails sent them flying against walls, their bodies snapping like twigs. Fire engulfed everything, melting their weapons, reducing their technology to nothing but ash. They had crossed a line they could never uncross. The dragon was making them pay. The girl and the beast. She felt the heat before she heard the silence. The screaming had stopped. The ship was eerily still. Only the distant crackling of fire remained. She turned her face toward the sound of deep, steady breathing. The air felt warmer now, more alive. She knew what stood before her. The ground trembled slightly as it moved closer. The warmth of its breath caressed her skin. It smelled like smoke and old stone, like the heart of the earth itself. She lifted her bound hands. The cuffs shattered with a single touch from an enormous claw. She felt something else then, something gentle. The tip of a scaled snout pressing against her palm. No words were spoken. None were needed. The dragon had come for her, and she was not alone anymore. Vengeance in the stars, the ship was failing. Fires raged in the corridors. The last of the aliens fled to escape pods, their fear palpable. But the dragon was not done. It moved to the core of the ship, its molten eyes locking onto the great engine that powered it. With one final exhale of flame, it set everything ablaze. The girl felt the ship shudder violently. She knew they had to leave. A great wing wrapped around her, lifting her as if she weighed nothing. Then with a single mighty leap, the dragon launched itself into the void, carrying her with it. Behind them, the alien warship exploded. Fire consumed the night sky. The last stronghold of the invaders was gone. She did not need her eyes to know what had happened. She felt it. Vengeance had been delivered. Justice had been served. The last human girl had lost her sight, but she had gained something far greater. She had a protector, She had a dragon. And together, they would make sure the stars never forgot the name of humanity. The cold metal cuffs bit into her wrists. Her knees pressed against the grated floor of the alien warship, her head tilted slightly as she listened. She could hear the hum of the ship's engines beneath her, the soft vibrations of energy pulsing through the walls. She could smell something acrid in the air, ozone, metal, the strange antiseptic scent of the creatures that had stolen her away. Her world was dark. The aliens had taken her eyes. They had done it slowly, methodically, with precise hands and cold instruments. They had studied her, the last human girl, the final remnant of a species they had deemed unworthy of existence. Their invasion had been swift, their destruction complete. Earth had burned, and the screams of her people had become nothing but echoes in a lifeless void. Now she was the last, a relic, a curiosity, a creature to be dissected and studied before she, too, was discarded. She had not screamed when they had taken her sight. She had clenched her fists. She had gritted her teeth. But she had not screamed, and the aliens had mistaken her silence for weakness. They had not known who was watching. They had not known about the thing that lurked in the ruined caverns of the world, the thing that had waited through centuries of slumber, the thing that had stirred when the sky filled with fire and death. They had not known about the dragon, the watching flame. It had seen the invasion. It had watched as the ships tore through the skies, as the great cities of men crumbled into dust, as the oceans boiled and the forests turned to ash. It had remained hidden, deep beneath the earth, beneath the ruins of a world it had once known, listening to the last dying cries of humanity. But then it had heard something different, a single heartbeat, small, steady, defiant. The girl had not died. The dragon had listened as the aliens took her. It had followed when they carried her into the sky, when they bound her in chains, when they took the last thing she had left, her sight. And when she had not screamed, the dragon had made a decision. It would burn the stars for her. It would make them pay. The storm breaks, the ship trembled. A deep, resonant sound echoed through the halls, like distant thunder rolling across an endless sky. The alien guards stiffened, their elongated bodies tilting slightly, their black, pupil-less eyes scanning the corridors. Another sound followed, a deep groan of bending metal. The ship shuddered again. The lights flickered. The girl lifted her head. She did not need her eyes to know what was coming. Then the world exploded. The walls of the warship tore open in a shower of sparks and shredded steel. Fire poured through the opening like liquid gold, waves of heat rushing through the corridors, and from the fire something moved, a shadow of vast wings, a body of burning scales, eyes like molten suns. The dragon had arrived. The aliens screamed. Their weapons lifted, humming with deadly energy. They fired. The beams of light struck the dragon's body and disappeared, swallowed by the heat of its scales. The beast roared, a sound that shook the bones of the ship itself, and then it moved. Faster than thought. Claws raked through the closest guards, tearing them apart in a spray of dark ichor. Its tail lashed out, smashing through walls, sending armored creatures flying into the depths of space. The fire followed. The ship's corridors became an inferno, metal warping, melting beneath the dragon's wrath. The aliens tried to run. It did not matter. The dragon hunted them down, tearing through their ranks like a storm of flame and fury. It crushed their machines. It shattered their weapons. It did not stop. It did not slow. They had hurt her, and for that, they would burn. The girl and the beast. She could feel the heat now, pulsing through the air, washing over her skin like a second sun. The screams had faded. The ship was silent. Something moved in front of her. A slow, steady breath, deep and ancient. A presence like a mountain, like the weight of the sky pressing down. She lifted her face. She could not see it, but she knew. She reached out and something warm and smooth touched her fingertips. A snout. Scaled. Alive. The dragon exhaled, a breath that smelled of smoke and old stone. Her chains snapped. She did not flinch. She stood slowly, tilting her head toward the sound of its breathing. There were no words between them. There never needed to be. She climbed onto its back. It turned, great wings unfurling. The flames around them bent in the heat of its presence. Then it leapt. Fire in the void. Dragon burst from the ruined ship, wings cutting through the vacuum of space like a blade through silk. Behind them, the vessel burned. Explosions rippled through its body, great plumes of fire blooming in the darkness. The last of the alien survivors scrambled toward their escape pods, their fear filling the void like a silent scream. She felt them. She heard them. And she spoke, her voice quiet but filled with the weight of vengeance. Burn it all. The dragon obeyed. Its mouth opened, and from its throat came a fire that burned hotter than the heart of stars. The escape pods never made it far. The alien warship shattered into fragments, breaking apart in a final, desperate burst of flame. The last remnants of the ones who had taken her, who had destroyed her world, were gone. Ash and smoke drifted through the void. The girl sat on the dragon's back, feeling the vastness of space around her. For the first time in a long time, she did not feel alone. She did not know where they would go next, but it did not matter. She had lost her sight. She had lost her world. But she had gained something else. She had a protector, a weapon, a dragon. And together, they would carve their names into the stars.